In this video, we're going to talk about the first thing you see when you open up Windows 10, and that is the desktop. The desktop is basically designed to emulate the desk at your home. And like the desk at your home, it has many objects on it. And in the Windows desktop, there are things like icons and shortcuts. There's a taskbar along the bottom. There's a start button on the lower left side. There's a notification area on the lower right side. And some screen tips will pop up once in a while. And very important, there's a recycle bin located, usually up in the upper left corner. Now, just because you can put a lot of different things on your Windows desktop, it doesn't mean you should. In fact, if you the desktop is basically designed to hold things temporarily while you're working on them. It's not designed for permanent storage. And if you do something like this where you have a really crowded and messy desktop, it makes it virtually impossible to find anything you're looking for. Now, one thing we should get straight here is what we call this little arrow here. Okay, this thing that moves around when we move our mouse. Now, most people call it a cursor, but actually the word cursor can refer to two different things. So to be more precise, let's call it the mouse pointer. Okay, and whenever you click the right mouse button on your mouse, a little menu will pop up. Okay, a little menu, and this is really handy. This is a really handy feature. In fact, whenever you're not sure how to do something, just use the right mouse button. This menu will pop up, and usually, not always, but a lot of the times, whatever you're looking for is going to be in that menu. So it's a really important and useful feature. Now, speaking of terminology here, we have the desktop and we have Windows. Okay, the Windows, and the desktop is basically the thing that covers the entire screen. It emulates your real desk at home. There are also program windows, and each window is for a different program or a different app that you're running on your computer. And you can have several open at the same time, and it's very easy to switch from one to another. To illustrate the difference between a desktop and a program window and a pane on that particular program window, let's look at this here. This is the desktop here. This is a desktop that we use here at the college. And then it's particularly not too good looking. The desktop we have at home is probably looking a lot nicer, right? Now, if we open up a program, say, for example, the File Explorer program, okay, this is a window. And you can move the window around the screen. You can also make it take up the whole screen if you want to, but this is just part of a screen, and it's dedicated to a particular program. And a part of that window is called a pane, just like a window pane, and that's for particular things. In this case, it shows different locations on your computer. The most important part of your desktop is the part down at the bottom. That's the taskbar, and there are a number of really important buttons on there. For example, the most important is the start button in the lower left corner. If you want to start doing something, that's a usually good place to start, right? Right next to it is the search box. When you're trying to find something, this comes in extremely handy, okay? It helps you find particular things, whether it's a program or a file. It works really, really nicely. There's a task view button, which is a pretty important tool. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And a couple of program buttons if you want to switch from one program to another or start up a program. Those come in really handy. And over on the right side is the notification area, which has a bunch of icons which will notify you about different things. For example, it tells you what time it is and what day it is. So that comes in really handy. Right next to the search button on the taskbar is the task view button. This is a really interesting button here. This lets you, number one, it lets you switch from one app to another, which is really handy. It also lets you create different virtual desktops. So you can have one desktop for work and one desktop for games, and it can very easily switch from games back to work, say whenever the boss shows up. Okay, so it comes in really handy for that. Well, now that we've covered the various parts of the desktop, in our next video, we're going to actually start using it. So be sure to take a look at that.